Alright, here's a video review for the new one from Iron Factory. This is part of their Iron Samurai series, which right now I believe we've only seen this one and a take on Bludgeon that turns into like both kind of a goblin tank and then like a spider goblin tank. If you've seen pictures, you know what I'm talking about. This is IF-EX45. It is, and I'm gonna make an attempt at this, and I'm probably wrong, and feel free to correct me. YOROI SHISHIMARU is what his name is, and I don't normally get super into packaging, but I do want to show off the box for this one because it's very classy. The front of it has a nice banner, the lion logo head, and some foil stamping with the gold, and then just here's the character number. It's just a really nice looking front of the box, and the sides as well. The back has more of a typical Iron Factory look to it, but it doesn't have the clear window like there's no opening flap. It's just a very, it's just a very classy box. I like it. You also get the instructions and all the accessories in there, but that's about it. It just comes in a plastic tray, much like you would expect from an Iron Factory figure, like most of them have come with. But here he is. He's a little samurai lion. I made the joke on Twitter that pizza is not included because he is a samurai cat. But yeah, really nice detailing. It's a little weird the way he transforms. It's a little bit more of the robots when they get to robot mode are a little bit more skeletal, but especially from the front, a really neat looking lion here. And because of the way he transforms, he's got all of the elbow joints and a ball joint down here at the paw, and a swivel back here. There's a ball joint kind of halfway up the leg here, although the foot itself is kind of one solid piece. But the hips, he does have some movement in his legs, but the way they peg into this piece, you really just have this range of motion here at the ball joint is the really only effective joint there in the leg, aside from just extending it back like that. And then there's the hinge there. So you can pose the legs, but they don't really widen out because they're pegged into a tab here, which we'll see later. The front legs, you can see there's the robot shoulders. These are the robot arms, and they generally have the same. There's a dual hinge there at the elbow joint, the ball joint there, the ball joint, and a rotational joint up there at the shoulder where the red piece meets the white piece. And then this piece, which is not technically part of the main, but kind of visually fills it in from the front. These are his hip guards here in lion mode. And what's really neat too is he's got the cool samurai helmet as a lion, and then the head crest you can see is the matrix. That's got the center of the matrix with the handles kind of coming up there, which is neat. His mouth does open. This little piece is on a hinge. This gold piece is on a hinge, so whether the mouth is closed, you can tilt that back to match up with the body, or if you open it up, you can bring that down, so it still kind of hides his robot head up in there with the mouth open. And then the head itself is, again, this piece comes with it, but it's on a ball joint, so you can turn the lion head a little bit around as well. And then the tail itself is on a little ball joint up in there, but the way the ball joint's shaped, you can kind of rotate a little bit. If you bring it down, you can mostly rotate it, but it doesn't, and it moves a little bit side to side, but it doesn't have like a full side to side rotation because of the walls of the ball joint attachment there. But you can bring it down and pose the tail in different positions as well. So yeah, to transform, what we fell over. Basically, take this, lift this up, and fold it. There's a dual hinge here, so fold it to kind of collapse it up on top of the, sorry, I got the hiccups tonight, on top of the lion head, and then open these panels up here like this and close the mouth, and you can kind of see that's going to go into the shoulder. There's this robot head turned around and this chest plate there. I'll go ahead and lift these gold panels up on the ball joint and then kind of rotate this piece up and around like that. And that frees up the upper body here. You can bring the shoulders up to the robot mode position and collapse his chest down into place there. You can see the two hinges here that the shoulder armor for the right side and the left side come off on. The lion head rotates to the right here on this dark gray hinge, and then kind of, again, get these out of the way here. Down onto the shoulder, bring the shoulder up like that, and bring the elbow facing forward. Rotate the paw around and flip it back to reveal the fist. Same over here. Rotate the paw around. Rotate his robot head around to face front. And then this kind of rotates down and sits over the shoulder. You can kind of fold the gold pieces, the gold panels there around. And once you get everything out of the way, get mostly to robot mode, you can change this. And then this little hinge flips up, and the lion head just sits there on his shoulder, much like standard Lao convoys. Down here, the legs, split them at the thigh here, and you'll see this piece comes up, and there's the tab I was talking about. It tabs into the two sides of the thigh. Once that's loose, you can bring this whole assembly up here, rotate it. There's a ball joint and a hinge here, and you want to rotate it kind of away from the ball joint and up over like that. And then it comes, the ball joint piece rotates up on the back shoulder like that, and allows that to come down, and then the white piece kind of settles over his shoulder like that. And then this piece is on a ball joint here, as well as a hinge, so you can get that out of the way. The tail, you can if you want to hide it behind him, you can fold it back like that, but it doesn't really, because of the way that you can kind of, if you want to hide it, you can, but it doesn't collapse quite as flat as you would expect, again, because of how that ball joint, it allows movement this way, but it doesn't have an opening on the other side. This tab also flips up and hides like there. There is nicely a little catch there, so you can flip that out. There's a tiny, tiny little piece, little place to grip it. If you can get your fingernail on it, and you can just flip it out very easily. Then down here on the legs, rotate them around just below the hip on the thigh swivel. And once that's done, these gold pieces that were main pieces, they're on the ball joint here, but there's also a rotating hinge back here that you want to kind of spread them out like wings and then flip over. It basically just brings those ball joints up onto his hips proper, so these can fold down as little hip armor. And you can see the arms, you can move these panels around to give the arms a good range of motion. And then down here, extend that hinge right there that the ball joint's attached to bring the foot down. Flip out the heel on this gold piece, and then bring the toe down, and then rotate it around at the ankle to face forward, and same on this side. There he is in base robot mode. There is one accessory that doesn't really store in lion mode. I mean, I guess you could plug it in to one of these main guards, hip guards in lion mode, but he does come with a sword in a sheath. Now, the way all the instructions show it pegging in via this hole on this side, which does have it a little upside down. You can put it on either side, but we'll do it like the way instructions do, because there's a hole on either one of these mines that you can just plug it in right here, and he's got a sword. Now you'll notice he has closed fists, but that doesn't prevent him, because you get 3 extra pairs of hands here. That, because of, like, I appreciate that they didn't make you swap out the paw every time. There's the ball joint here just above the wrist is where the pieces swap off. And if you want to swap out, he's got open hands. He's got fist holding hands, or like more closed holding hands. And then he's got kind of an open, tilted hand for holding the sword for each side. And the way you replace these is you just, let's give him, you just pop off the hand at the wrist at the ball joint, and then smack on the new hand. Now, despite the fact that all of these pieces have the paws on the hinge, which is mostly for posability here in robot mode, the only one that we can really transform into lion mode with, I guess this one, even this one's a little too long. You can kind of see how the fingers come down past the lion foot. So they're there. It's interesting that they gave you the piece, and I guess that's just to prevent from swapping. It's just weird that they didn't give you. They sacrificed swappable hands down here in order to give him a little bit more articulation in the wrist, which on something like this you're going to want. He's like I said, he's a little bit more skeletal and spindly than some of their figures, but it also allows for some really nice articulation, and we'll show that off. Let me pop on this little angled sword holding hand here onto the other side, just to show you how this works. This is the first time I put this one on, so it's a little tight. But yeah, so you swap out the fists, and then when you put the sword in this hand, it kind of angles forward a little bit. And then with the ball joint at the wrist, you can even give it more of a little tilt forward angle on the sword. I don't know why that's not staying in there very well. But yeah, so you can have him do that. This piece is on a hinge here, so you can get that out of the way. For pose, if you want to bring his hip up higher than normally you would, you can bring that panel down. You can get, like, look at that. You can get him in some really dense crouching poses here because of how they've done this. And again with the hinge for the leg, you can really get him down doing some cool stuff. But like really deep bends and having that hinge panel gives them a good range of motion here. But yeah, you've got all that. You've got the ball joint, and again, once you move these panels out of the way, you can see how much clearance it has there. Pretty much unimpeded ball joint at the shoulder, a bicep swivel, the dual hinge elbows that allow his arms to fold like all the way up. The ball joint there above the wrist, and again, it gives him some wrist swivel a little further back than normally you would get it, but instead of right here at the hand. But good range of motion in the arms. These are on ball joints, so I mean, like, these can get out of the way, and especially with that backward hinge for transformation, you can even pull them back and really get some wide legged poses out of this. He does have a waist swivel here, as well as kind of an ab crunch. It's a ball joint there at the waist. The head itself is on a ball joint and can look, you can get a pretty decent tilt in both directions as well as a side to side. Dual hinge knees. You've got the ball joint at the foot, which again has the clearance here to be mostly unimpeded, and an opening here to really get some wide-legged stances or crouchy stances if you want. Plus you've got that transformation hinge for even more posability, and both the heel and toe are posable separately. So there's just a lot of really neat range of motion in here that you can get with this guy. At first, when we first saw these, I wasn't sure how I felt about them. And the more I mess with him, I get it, because he's really very cool. Like I said, a little more skeletal and spindly, as is Bludgeon, but just some neat ideas going into this. I don't know, like I said, it's called the Iron Samurai series. I don't know if it's just going to be the two that we're getting here. And again, if you take that off, you can get, the arm can come down a little bit more there. But as it is, like I said, the really nice stylistic design. I like the look of the lion head here, both on the shoulder and as the lion. I think it's a neatly designed. I like the use of the matrix up here. But just a really fun, posable little dude. And of course, a cool little pizza cat or samurai cat mode. And real quick, here he is with, oh, that's a little too bright. But here he is with some other Lao convoys that I got here sitting around. Just to show them off with those guys. So yeah, very fun, very cool, very posable. There is Iron Factory IF-EX45, YOROI SHISHIMARU, their version of Lao Convoy as part of their Iron Samurai series.